A local nonprofit organization wants you to picture a place close to downtown Lakeland, yet a place where Mother Nature's healing powers are revealed through magnificent giant oak trees and a clear, gurgling stream that rises out of the earth and flows to Lake Bonnet below. All the details of this cryptic message are coming up on Polk Place. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm your host, Jeremy Morady, and with me today we have Carrie Falwell, who's the Executive Director for Explorations 5 in Lakeland.
Hi.
And a new guest with us, Kim Elmhurst, who is the President for the Friends of Bonnet Springs.
Yes.
And you guys have a lot to fill us in on what's going on.
Yeah. Where do you want to start, Jeremy?
All right. Well, we know that, we've covered before that you guys will be moving, building a new facility, but you haven't really given us the full detail and rundown. And I know you're here to tell us that, but then Kim's also going to fill us in on a lot more too.
Yeah, so the Children's Museum is one part where we're 47,000 square feet of a 180-acre park. So I'll let Kim talk about that, but we have decided on what the major gallery themes are going to be, and we're soon to announce our exhibit firm. So we should have renderings of what the actual exhibits and playscapes will look like in about 6 months. So we're really, really close.
And you're going to tell us those first on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I just want to make sure we got that in first.
So the first thing you'll see, and it's what will greet children and families as they park their car, is the front yard. It's 7,000 square feet of enclosed outdoor gallery space, which is something that is completely unattainable to us in our current location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Right. Just a bit. So there are really impactful learning tools that happen when you play outside and you're engaging with nature, and it's just nothing we've been able to do. So it's our largest gallery. It's 7,000 square feet. The center of it will be something that has been announced, which is Blinky, our ode to Lakeland's past mascot, informal mascot. And Blinky is a 100-foot long, 23-foot high climbable play sculpture. Every facet of Blinky will be interactive. It's about gross motor. It's about...
And for those not familiar, Blinky is an alligator.
Blinky is an alligator.
I just want to make that clear.
Yes, Blinky is an alligator. He will be built as a sculpture that's interactive. So his tongue could be a xylophone plank, and his eye could be a light feature. And he could be surrounded by reeds that have interesting holes cut out so that when the wind picks up and blows, they're like pipe organs. And so you hear these really wonderful tones that come through. So Blinky is the centerpiece of the front yard where we're going to explore the Florida under your feet. We want to talk about what's in the soil and what does our soil do. So we will actually grow food. We'll have a dirt pit where kids can actually dig and find things. There's a whole bunch of shark teeth in Central Florida. Well, why is that? That doesn't make any sense, right? So let's drill down and figure out why those things are there. When you go inside the museum, there's a very large gallery called Watermelon Seeds. That's just for our youngest visitors, so 6 and under. This space will be 15 times the space that particular age group gets in our current museum. And it's because we looked at 10 years of data, and this is who visits us the most. So we really want to make sure that we're doing something developmentally appropriate for them. Also in that space is Family Fundamentals, which is a storefront for United Way of Central Florida. They provide low-income families with access to quality early learning experiences and social services that strengthen families. It could be visitation, it could be parent education. There's a whole menu of services. And so the 30,000 people that they serve through Family Fundamentals will get those services at the new Explorations 5 Children's Museum. And once you complete your program, we're not going to make kids leave. So if you come and complete a Family Fundamentals program, you'll be able to stay and play for free at the museum the rest of the day.
Okay.
That's our commitment to them. There's
That's a nice partnership there.
Wonderful partnership.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're not leaving out the older kids. We've heard the community loud and clear that the older kids, 8 to 12, really need something to do in town. They want to be challenged. They want to engage with other kids their age. So we're building Design Park. This is a gallery all about design thinking. We want them to not look at failure as a reason to stop or to feel bad, but as a learning tool. And so if you can imagine a gallery filled with Connects and Legos and solar panels and ramps and air pressure, rocket launches, I mean, we really want them to create something tangible in
That
these spaces.
hands-on experience, not just the computer type.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. We'll still have social dramatic play, which is the technical term for the dress-up play that people love so much. So putting on a Publix apron and shopping in the grocery store, that's going to continue, and putting on a firefighter's hat and saving the day, that's going to continue. That's the cornerstone of any children's museum. If you can achieve social dramatic play, which is the scientific term, then it directly correlates to your ability to learn how to read and write.
Okay.
So that's absolutely coming over. And there's a space that we haven't decided yet, because we want to work with our world-renowned exhibit firm and come up with something completely unique and specific to Lakeland.
Okay.
And that's going to be a joint venture. Another space that I'm incredibly excited about is our Black Box Theater. We'll be able to present real children's theater and dance and art shows for the first time. We'll be able to dedicate that amount of space to it. It has sprung wood floors for dance performances, lights in AV rooms for theater performances. We really want to make sure that we bring the arts to kids and show them that it is accessible, right? And do it in a way that's meaningful. That space will also double as our traveling exhibit hall, so we can bring the biggest and the best traveling exhibits that we don't have nearly enough space for now to Lakeland, and not just let Lakeland families enjoy them, but regional families as well. So we're very excited about the space.
Well, I want to back up here just a little bit.
Yeah.
The space that you haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
What's the process you guys are going to go through on that in these coming months as things are starting to take shape?
That's a great question. So it'll start with a design meeting with museum folks, members, kids, our donors, and people from Bonnet Springs. And it will be led by our exhibit firm. And we'll start drilling down the things that kids really like to do, and then how can we push the bounds on that.
Okay.
Right? So it's not just about, oh, kids really like virtual reality. Okay, but how can we push virtual reality to a new space that's meaningful for a wide variety of kids and learning styles? So it'll be a collaborative process. It'll be a very creative process. It's going to be lots of sugar involved.
Lots of caffeine.
Lots of caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Well, that's the process that I like and love to see come around. Especially you and I have talked a number of times, Kim, on this whole process going through and the creation of Bonnet Springs, and this whole thing is creative at its core.
Yeah.
Taking the property there that used to be an old rail yard, and converting it into this incredible park. So
Right.
I'm going to hit you up later on to see how that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you come in here. So.
Absolutely.
And then Kim,
Well,
you got a lot going on too.
We have a lot going on, and I mean, I could talk to you about it for days, really. But I'll start with about a little over 3 years ago, David and Jean Bunch really just had a vision for what this property should be. I mean, he's been involved with this property for years. He's a real estate developer here in Lakeland. And he's had his eye on it, but he really had his eye on it for commercial. And because there was only one access point to this property, it was impossible for any commercial entity to come in and kind of make it work. Luckily for us, that did happen, because years and years later, David and Jean, after having visited so many parks across the country, were like, oh my goodness, this is like yearning to be a park.
Well, real quick, if you could give some of our viewers just an idea of where it is, because I
Yes.
think a ton of them
Yes.
have passed by this,
Right.
had
And
no clue
idea.
it was
Yes,
ever there.
exactly. Yes.
And I mean, it's just this hidden jewel.
So literally, and Lakelanders and people in Polk County don't walk a whole lot, but it is literally 10 minutes from Munn Park. So it is this it's a 180-acre park, or 180-acre piece of land that is that close to downtown Lakeland. And so if you go over the George Jenkins overpass and you look over, you will see a lot of dirt moving and probably wonder what's going on over there. Well, that's where that park is going to be. So it's really cool because it's in the center of the city. And so, like I said, when David and Jean were looking at this, they were like, this really needs to be a park, just where it's located, the amount of space it provides. They approached the Bonnet family with this idea, and the Bonnet family loved it. And they said they would enable this park to happen. And by enabling, I mean that they're helping us to pay for it, but this is a new paradigm shift. This is a privately funded public park, which means that our entire community, the entire region, is going to need to get involved financially in order for this to happen. And there's lots of examples of how that can happen, but our public tax dollars will not keep this park running. It'll be all of us doing that. So it's really cool because so many people who come out and visit the park or see presentations that we've made understand why this park is necessary. And we did, just like Carrie did with the museum and with the exhibit spaces, we listened to the community, and we had a couple public meetings. And basically what the community was telling us was, we don't want any more soccer fields or baseball fields. We really want a place where we can go and enjoy nature. And that's really what this place is going to be all about. So it's so exciting.
So now your role as the president for the Friends
Yes.
is helping bring that community together to sustain it.
Right. That's what our hope is. Part of my job and the job of the 9-member board of Friends of Bonnet Springs Park is to engage in the community. Luckily for us, we have such an engaged community, but there's many organizations that have friends groups, libraries, museums, other parks. That's really the backbone of how something like this is going to work. That's going to be some of our financial backing. That's going to be mostly our volunteer base, but it gets people excited. And right now what we've done is we've opened up our Friends membership, and people can join and become founding Friends members. It's a $30 household membership, and basically what we're asking the community to do is to join us to advocate for the park. Why is this park going to be so great for the city, for the county, for the region, for the state? The museum is going to be bringing so many people in, but the park itself is as well. It'll be a destination for this region of Central Florida.
Well, just kind of give us a little overview on some of the,
Okay.
I mean, we've heard Carrie's part,
Right.
but there's so much more. I mean, that's huge.
Well, that's the centerpiece.
Yes.
That is the centerpiece.
I mean, that is
Yes.
a huge
Yes.
centerpiece. But I mean, there's just so much more that's going on in that property.
There's so much. Well, let me just say this. When we started this process, we did not have the partnership with the museum, but we knew that we needed a partnership in order to draw its own crowds to our park. And what a fantastic partnership when we did find that Explorations 5 was interested in moving to the park. So we are just incredibly thankful and thrilled that they are going to be the centerpiece of Bonnet Springs Park. But there's 5 different locations on the park. Guests will come up to a welcome center, which will be next to the Heritage Gardens, which will pay tribute to the railway. You mentioned it was an old rail yard, an old working rail yard, and actually the largest in Florida at the time. And so it'll pay tribute to that. It'll pay tribute to the citrus industry in the way that the gardens are going to be linear. But that will be right next to our Welcome Center. Our Welcome Center will house our administrative offices. There will be a full restaurant there, which will be really exciting because that will draw people to the park itself as well. There'll be some gallery space there to tell the history of citrus, rail yards, Publix perhaps. When you leave the Welcome Center, you will then go down to the Explorations 5 area and our event lawn. alongside the Explorations 5 Museum will be an event space where we can actually do concerts for up to 5,000 people. But we're making the space really beautiful so that if there's not an event happening, you can still go out there and play with your, with a frisbee with your dog and throw football, have a picnic, and it not feel empty. So it's going to be a beautiful green space that'll be nice just every day. And alongside that will be an internet cafe, which will be great because if mom forgets a banana or a snack for her child, there'll be some place where they can go grab a cup of coffee, get a snack for their child before they go into the museum. Alongside that, on top of that will be a rooftop bar, and you'll be able to use that for VIP space when you're having your event on the lawn. So we're picturing that lawn being used for concerts, car shows, art festivals. I mean, you name it. Now, we don't want to become events every weekend.
Sure.
We want to be able to do that because since it is privately funded, we do need the ability to make some profit, but we don't want it to be something where we're every weekend having a large event. That really ruins the aesthetic of being in nature, right? So, but that's really exciting. Alongside that is going to be a nature play area. That will be a space where kids can come and play. They can come play in the dirt. They can come play on structures that are sort of part of the land, swing sets. Nothing like the equipment that you might see at a McDonald's. Not that plastic equipment, but fun things that will use the grading of the land, slides that will go down big hills and that sort of thing. So that's really exciting too.
Something more along the lines, I think, of what Bach Tower created.
That's exactly right. And our engineers actually went over there and looked at Bach Towers because that's an incredible space.
Yes, it is.
And that's definitely something along that same lines. I did not mention though that in this whole process we did hire a firm called Sasaki. They're based out of Boston. They are the ones that are helping us with this tremendous vision that we have. And they have all kinds of architects there, from landscape to civil to
and have
sound.
Considerable experience in this kind of.
Absolutely. One of the things that they have done is they've helped revitalize and rejuvenate the Riverwalk in Chicago, and that was really attractive to us in the hiring process. So we're really excited to work with them in this because they have such expertise. They think about things like how does the wind blow in the fall, and where does the sun set in the spring. So that's great because when you're trying to position buildings, you don't want someone to be sitting and eating at the restaurant with sun blazing in their eyes and that sort of thing. I've had to convince them though, because it seemed like every time they came down it was nice and cool, and I'm like, we can't have all that seating outside. It is really hot down here. And so they were here yesterday and I said, see, I told you it's really hot down here. The next space is the event center. And one of the things that we found out during our community meetings was that people were looking for more event space. And so we heard that cry and we decided to go ahead and create this beautiful event space for about 350 people, alongside an outdoor kitchen and also a Botanical Gardens. And the Botanical Gardens is going to be made up of the 5 different senses, which is really cool. We're kind of stealing a little, just a little bit. And so each of those gardens will have a different theme. We saw the architects yesterday, as I mentioned, and the site garden will be this blue, kind of a blue theme, which I think is kind of cool. And so that space is going to be beautiful. One of the challenges that we have on the land is that there is this very large flume, for lack of a better word, where all this storm runoff comes from neighborhoods like up around Memorial Boulevard and just gushes through our property. Well, all that, of course, is not clean water. And that water all these years has been going and feeding right into Lake Bonnet. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these beautiful ponds that's going to filtrate that water. And then that water is going to go into a clean lagoon that we're going to be digging out that will be right next to our nature center. Our nature center will be 2 buildings, a boathouse, a nature classroom, and an exhibit space. And so you'll be able to go down there and rent a paddle boat or a glass bottom boat of some sort, or a canoe, and you'll be able to tool around in there and see the fish and the turtles and maybe some sculptures underwater.
Okay.
If we decide to do that. So that part's really exciting. That part really we're excited about because there's a lot of programming that could happen with school children. We're excited to be able to bring maybe every fifth grade class in Polk County down to find out why you shouldn't be throwing your paper cup in the street, and that it ends up in Tampa Bay if you do that on Memorial Boulevard. It goes through our property and then goes all the way down to Tampa Bay. So we're excited to tell that story. I think it's really important in this day and time that we understand what's happening to our environment. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of space out there for this all to happen. All of the cars, I don't know if I've mentioned, but all the cars are going to be on the outside of the park. And so all those paths on the inside of the park will be very quiet. It's going to be actually 20 feet wide, so there'll be plenty of space for people to walk and use their strollers and wheelchairs. It's going to be fully accessible. We want to make sure that everybody in our community can use this park, that nobody is unable to get to any part of the park. That is very, very important to us. So, yeah.
Sounds
very
good.
Exciting.
Well, can't wait to see how things unfold. I know you guys are busy and construction is underway.
Yes.
So we've been out there and checked that out too.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you guys both for coming in.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
So look forward to future updates too.
Thank you.
The new Explorations 5 Children's Museum will be at Bonnet Springs Park, a breathtaking 180-acre park at the corner of Kathleen Road and George Jenkins Boulevard in downtown Lakeland. The vision of the move is to open the doors of a children's museum that redefines informal learning beyond 21st century teaching, to provide a community resource that strengthens families, to conduct research that advances our understanding of how children learn, how families achieve together, and what Central Florida needs as we raise the next generation, and to engage a community of curious explorers. For more information on Explorations 5, you can look them up on the web at www.explorationsv.com or give them a call at 863-687-3869.